Hats can be a fun project to start when learning to knit, but can feel intimidating when you're brand new to knitting. In this video, I'm going to show you an easy way to make a slouchy toque. For this project, you will need circular knitting needles between sizes US 8 to 10 at 16 inches long, yarn needle, stitch markers, and point protectors. The last two items are optional but very helpful. Stitch markers are helpful for keeping track of the number of stitches I've knitted and how many rounds I've completed. Point protectors to help ensure my stitches stay on the needle in case I need to take a break or try on the hat as I make it. First, start by casting on stitches onto the circular needle. The number of stitches you will need depends on the measurement of your head and the thickness of the yarn. For this type of yarn, which is a little bulky, I'm going to cast on 45 to 48 stitches. The circumference of my head is around 21 inches. Keeping track of how many stitches you've cast can be difficult, which is when stitch markers are particularly useful. As you're working on casting on your stitches, you may find that you need to pull on the clear wire part of the needle to push the stitches closer to the ends of the needle, as I've done here. When you're done, switch needles on your hands so that if you're right-handed, the needle on your right hand should control and feed from the ball of yarn. Adjust the wire part of the needle as needed, and ensure that the brim of the hat is always pointed downwards and is consistent to avoid twisting. When you finish casting on the number of stitches you need, I recommend putting in the stitch marker onto the needle which contains and controls the ball of yarn. Begin by knitting a knit stitch into the first stitch on your left hand needle. This will close the gap and allow you to knit non-stop and essentially knit a tube that will eventually resemble a toque. Continue to knit a round of the knit stitch all the way through to the end until you find your stitch marker again. Move the stitch marker onto the working needle when you reach the end of one round and continue knitting the knit stitch on the round again. After a while of knitting, you may find that your knitting project is starting to resemble a toque. When you're comfortable with the length of your toque, get a pair of scissors and cut your yarn, leaving about 12 inches of yarn left over. Get a yarn needle and thread the remaining yarn into it. While the yarn is still on the right hand, weave the yarn into the stitches starting from your left hand, going all the way around until it comes out of the needle on your right hand. Remove the needle out of the stitches carefully. Tighten the yarn but leave enough room to put the yarn needle through the hole at the top of your hat. Turn your hat inside out. Pull tight on the yarn to close the hole at the top of your hat. Use the yarn needle to sew the hole completely shut. When you're done, snip off the remaining yarn. At this point, you may optionally decide to tuck in the remaining yarn into the hat using a crochet needle. And you're done! Turn your hat right side out again and wear it with pride.